Hey, welcome back. I got 4 topics I want to talk about this afternoon, just quick ones that have popped up, but let's jump to it. And you know what? Let's start with the last one first. We'll go with the last one first because I think it might be the most interesting one. The State Department is revoking the Colombian president's visa because of his participation in a pro-Palestine rally that happened in New York. Here we go. Let's check it out.
The United States says it's revoking Colombian President Gustavo Petro's visa after he joined a pro-Palestinian rally in New York on Friday and called on U.S. soldiers to disobey President Donald Trump's orders. In footage released by the Colombian government, Petro can be seen addressing a crowd of pro-Palestinian demonstrators outside the United Nations headquarters in Manhattan. He proposed creating a UN-backed global armed force with the priority to liberate Palestinians, adding that this force has to be bigger than that of the United States. That's why from here, from New York, I ask all the soldiers of the United States Army not to point their guns at people, disobey the orders of Trump, obey the orders of humanity, Petro said in Spanish. Posting on X, the U.S. State Department said, quote, "We will revoke Petro's visa due to his reckless and incendiary actions." Petro's comments were of a piece with statements he made during this week's UN General Assembly, in which he accused the U.S. president of being complicit in genocide. Trump, for his part, listed Colombia this week among the countries the U.S. believes to have failed demonstrably in upholding anti-drug agreements. Reuters could not immediately confirm if Petro was still in New York. His office did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
So I assume we afforded him the opportunity to leave amicably on his own, but the key part are the remarks he made guiding our military, directing them in a way to disobey orders and asking for there to be a force created that's even larger than the U.S. Army. I think that's where he kind of went astray. Probably not an appropriate thing to do when you're visiting another nation. But anyway, one of the crazier ones that I've seen recently, the president of a country coming into the United States asking our military to disobey orders. Bizarre. Another topic here. Is Korea broke?
South Korea is unable to pay $350 billion upfront in investment in the United States as part of a tariff deal with President Donald Trump. That's according to the South Korean National Security Advisor, who said on Saturday the country is seeking an alternative solution. The two allies agreed on a deal in July that would cut U.S. tariffs on South Korean goods to 15% from the 25% Trump earlier imposed. Seoul pledged $350 billion towards U.S. projects and said it would come in the form of loans, loan guarantees, and equity. But in remarks this week, Trump said South Korea would provide the investment up front, despite its contention that kind of outlay could plunge Asia's fourth-largest economy into a financial crisis. On a South Korean TV news program, National Security Advisor Wi Song-lak said the sum is, objectively and realistically, not a level we are able to handle. Wi, who is the top security advisor to President Lee Jae-myung, said alternatives are being discussed and that Seoul aims to finalize the trade deal with Washington during next month's summit of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Grouping. South Korea is hosting the APEC gathering, which Trump is expected to attend.
The interesting part here is that I don't think many of these countries are accustomed to the United States holding anyone accountable. Commitments are made for $350 billion. The president expects that to be upheld, and perhaps they thought that we'll just get something in paper or notionally agreed upon months ago, and they can walk it back at some point in the future. But that's not the case. So they're in quite a pickle now. So it'd be interesting to see what the compromise is at this point. Of course, their protesters are not going to help out the situation. It might actually make things worse for them. You can see them out on the streets here. Now listen to the remarks that they translate into English of one of the protesters, along with the signs and anti-Trump rhetoric.
Environmental problems ultimately stem from inequality, and those who can most immediately feel and recognize these problems are the vulnerable, not those with power. That may be why such ignorant remarks from the US President Donald Trump could even come out in the first place.
So an interesting dynamic. Trump, of course, at the UN, again, famously and in front of the entire world, called all the lower carbon efforts a massive scam, aligned with his Green New Scam talking points. So I don't know, drop a comment what you think, if this is going to help the Korean situation or if this might make things a little bit worse for them. But last thing I got for you guys, inflation is actually picking up, it seems a little bit. Not so good. So Trump calls Jerome Powell too late. We may have actually missed the window now of being able to lower rates.
U.S. inflation is picking up, according to data out Friday, making the Federal Reserve's path on interest rates a little more complicated. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, ticked up 0.3% in August, in line with estimates. That put the annual inflation rate at 2.7%, the biggest yearly increase since February. Core inflation, which strips out food and energy, remained stuck at an annual rate of 2.9%. The Fed tracks the PCE index closely as it aims to lower inflation to an annual rate of 2%. Meanwhile, American consumers are still spending, and that's keeping U.S. economic growth on track. The Commerce Department says spending jumped 0.6% in August, beating forecasts. Signs of the economy's resilience were evident in other data this week, showing low layoff numbers and strong demand by businesses for equipment, leading some economists to argue against the need for another interest rate cut this year from the Fed. Still, traders on Friday were pricing in a roughly 88% chance of a rate cut in October, according to CME's FedWatch tool.
So 88% chance if that goes the wrong way, along with all these other subtle indicators that Wall Street is very disconnected from Main Street, this may not be a good scenario, because I think they're counting on interest and credit availability to loosen up a little bit. That may not turn out quite well for them. So keep in mind, we've gone through a number of years of inflation being a really big problem for us, coupled with tepid wage growth. Real wage growth is not exactly there when you look at it. It's growing, but is it outpacing inflation? Is it really getting to the right levels of society that you want? And a lot of it, they're trying to address now with the H-1B visa. So drop a comment. I'll take a look at them later, see what you think about inflation, H-1B visa crisis, all the other things that we got going on. But thanks for tuning in.
The message of political